So I went back on my phone, and I'm looking up. Oh, sorry, baby. I'm looking up something dealing with another connection with the teachings from Rebisar, and all of a sudden I see this thing about New You, and I thought, that's interesting. So I opened it up, and Janine and I, we sat there and we looked at the web page, and her first comment was, "Looks like a bunch of kindergarten stuff." And I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, well, and what's the problem with that? And she was a little bit, because we'd already stepped over into Vardencar. Now we'd spent another 2 years with this guy, and now we're looking at something else. So anyway, one thing led to another. It didn't take me but about a couple of days, and I'm looking at his stuff, and I'm looking at Duane, and then all of a sudden I find this phone number, and I call Claudia. She was the person behind the new people who were looking for something. And well, Claudia and I hit it off right away, and we talked for an hour. And so she said, "Okay," she said, "I'm gonna be talking to Duane here pretty quick, and I'll pass on your stuff." And we said, "We'll, get you going." So it took about another day or so, and Duane sent me an email, and I called him, and we started talking, and right away it was like it didn't take hardly 5 minutes. We got off into the law stuff. And of course, he was in the midst of the new presentation and the project, and right away we started discussing that, and that's just where it went. It just didn't take any time at all. And then all of the things that I had worked for and learned, and the classes I'd taken on the inner and everything, it all came to bear. It just came full circle. So it's like I knew right then that I'd finally at least gotten to a point where I could start exercising all the things that I had learned. Oh, jeez. And and what else? So anyway, here we are, and finally Duane told Val to give Mike a call, and let's start doing a blog on. And I said, "Well, what are we going to do a blog on?" And Val says, "What you love to do." So that's kind of where we're at right now. And of course, I know full well the boys are there and they're behind us, and they've been dogging me for my whole life practically, and it's finally culminated through, we'll just say, 50 some odd years of very, very diligent continuing to move forward, even though there were some things that just totally adverse to anybody's common sense about being afraid to take a step. And I know a lot of people on this line probably have had these experiences, but I'll tell you what, you'll never know what's on the other side of it until you take that step. And the ones that are the most fearful, the biggest, the scariest, those are the ones that will get you the most growth the quickest. And I've learned this over not only other lifetimes, but in this one specific, because this is the time. This is the time for all this, and I know it. So whatever else I could give you would be on, I guess, next Sunday's blog with Bob again, and we're going to continue to move into the depths and details of the system that few people really understand. But it's almost like it's the foundation for everything going on out there in the whole universe and all these different planes. And I know it inside, and I know we're going to get it out there. So I'm looking forward to that. So if I've been of assistance and helped anybody out there, I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for Sandy for wanting to do this little interview with me, and we'll be talking again, I'm sure.
Well, Mike, I have a question for you. Since our talk show today is about telling your story, the former Eckists tell their story, and we're trying to focus on people that may still be in Eckankar and give them reasons why they need to look in this. And that's a great story you told about how you came to know Duane and your experiences. Now, what kind of advice or what were some of the key things that you saw when you were in the corporation? I'll just call it the corporation. When you were still in the corporation, what were the signs, like writing on the wall and and what if there any particular moment in time where things started popping up that just didn't seem right, or that you paid closer attention to that really stick out that you might want to share with current Eckists that they might want to look at. There was a lot of them. I called an Eckists this morning to see if they would join us, and they said no, and I said, well, don't you want to defend your position as being an Eckist? And no, I don't want to go there at all, and this was an HI. Wouldn't even defend Harold. No. Would not even consider even listening, coming on and listening to our talk show. She was just so afraid of it or whatever, But anyways, if there's any key points or things that you want to share with current Eckists that might be a tipping point for them.
Well, I mentioned one thing, and you just mentioned it yourself. You said these Eckists they're afraid to do something. That fear is what's going to keep them from moving forward. So they put somebody, and I saw this at the Anaheim, the last convention or con two was in Anaheim, and I don't remember the particular year. I had several people with me, but we were all sitting in the back watching this. It turned into a dog and pony show is what it did, and we were all looking at it. It's like, what the hell is going on with these people? And I can't give you the specifics about it, but we just knew something wasn't right at that moment. And for the average person who's been in the corporation for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I mean, when you think in your brain that this is the way that you have to go in order to get out of the physical world and get into the higher worlds and become a master, and you think that that's the only process and the only way that you can find it, and you let something like Harold threaten you or coerce you or make you feel like you're not going to get anywhere if you don't stay with him, you've already missed it. And if you can't go in and ask the boys, if you can't ask for help, if you can't ask for assistance, if you can't do that, then you're never going to find the next step. It's just not going to be there for you. And that's the very thing, is that fear point. And when I finally came to that, and I was looking at this thing about Paul, there was this thing inside of me that was saying, oh man, you've spent all this time going all this way, getting all of this spiritual knowledge and awareness, and you've reached this level in Eckinkar, and you're on your way and all. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's saying, yeah, now you're going to give up all that. You're going to quit, and you're going to start all over again. That's what that little piece of you is doing. That it's saying, yeah, you got to start all over. Oh, now you got to do another life or another life. And how many times have you heard those things? Well, you can get it in this life or the next. And then, but when it comes to the reality of it, when you're finally looking at the wall and you're saying this life or the next, and I got to do it all again and come back without any awareness or knowledge or spiritual understanding about where I'm at or where I'm going. Oh my God! Well, that just becomes the one thing that's a hook that's going to reach out there and grab you and keep you where you are. And I knew that when it happened. And Janine, she just looked at me. She says, "Wow, you're making that. You're going to take this step." And I said, "Darn right, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to stay with these people." I already knew. Inside, I was being told I knew, and so I couldn't just stand there. So anybody that's in the organization right now, I don't care how high up the ladder they think they are. They're following a group of people whose only job is to keep them right where they're at. And they're going to be stuck in it if they decide not to take the step. And I went from Eckinkar to Vardenkar, so I was being given from one to the next, and then finally Duane. But I knew in all of that the Eckinkar, the Vardenkar, because there was little things, little pieces, little things that were being said by certain individuals about what was going on in their group. And when I would ask a question or request information about something, I wouldn't get the answer that I felt I should have got, and it was showing me. You just know when you're talking to somebody that is telling you they know this and know that, and you ask them a question and they give you some backdoor answer to it, or they try and avoid the question. Wait a minute. Why wouldn't this person want to give me this information? Why are they suppressing that from me? They should be telling me. They should be eager to give me the answer and to help me to understand what I've asked and to help me further myself in the process that I'm involved with. And that's not what happened in either one of those groups. they put up all of this hype, tried to give everybody all this dog and pony show about, oh yeah, do this, get the initiations, and move on up the ladder, and go to the spiritual planes and all. And I'm not saying the boys aren't involved in all that. I mean, they're going to help anybody get to whatever level they can based on what they are and what they're willing to do. And it's always about what you're willing to do. That's the key. If you're not willing, if somebody asks you to do something and you're not willing, well, you can come back and try it again. So for those Eckists that are still stuck in that morass, in that hole, in all of that corporate garbage, and having to, it's about the dues and the membership and the initiations, and you can do this and you can't do that, and come on, you guys better wake up.
Mike, one of my his right hand and slapped his right cheek as hard as he could, and then he poured some in his left hand and slapped his left cheek as hard as he could, and then said, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." Well, yep. One of the things that I find just absolutely amazing is all the Eckists that are still within the corporation that refuse to go visit Rebisar tires on the inner. They refuse to.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly.
Well, my point is, Rebisar is the one that started Eckinkar, basically. Yeah. If it wasn't for Rebisar, teaching Paul, Eckinkar wouldn't have existed, and that's the fundamental to the Eck Corporation. It's fundamental, and they're afraid of him. So what has Eckinkar turned into? You have to ask yourself. I mean, it's turned into a worship of the Mahanta. The Mahanta is almost like Jesus. Everybody worships Jesus to be saved, and now in the corporation, people are worshiping the Mahanta, thinking that he's the savior, and they don't have to do anything anymore. It's like a belief system, and but they're just really taken down.
And unfortunately,
I know a lot of. Pardon, Mike?
I said, unfortunately, if you want to call it that, for those Eckists who can't see the forest for the trees, they're doomed for another round. They just don't know it. And their fear is keeping them from taking that step. It's all about that fear.
I have talked to a lot of Eckists. Darwin stole Paul Twitchell's titles. He really wasn't the living Eck master, nor the Mahanta. And then Harry Klump said he stole the titles too. And I think when I had the experience, and I saw her after she passed over, and she didn't know where she was. And reptilians took her away. I know I have had another friend who had quit Eckinkar actually in 1992, and she said she was at a seminar, and Harry was up on stage talking, and she said she saw part of his face sort of peel away and expose a monster underneath. Very reptilian monster. And she said, I went home and I quit. That was it. And that's
for some of us, it didn't take a kick in the pants. It just took a very subtle nudge from one of the boys, and that's all it took. And for those that are, aren't ready, they're really not. They got to get a kick. And even the ones that get a kick, if they're not ready, they're still not going to take the step. So it's all relative, and each person's going to have to come to their own awareness. There's nothing you can do for people that aren't willing to move or take the step. They're not willing to change. And so all we can do is be the best example we can be, and do what we know we need to do to help wake other people up, but you can't shove it down their throat. That's the whole key.
Well, right, so you have to give them freedom of choice.
That's right.
And it's their
but
decision.
Your example is the best. Your example is the best that you can be.
Correct. Well, that was very good, Mike. Do we have Val on the line?
I'm here. Hello.
Okay, Val. I would like to turn it over to you and ask you how you had come on to finding Duane the Great Writer and come upon the new UUU. And I understand you were in the corporation for quite a few years also.
Yeah, similar to Mike, I was in from the early 70s to 2014, so around 40 years. So I had a good taste of it. And actually I was not displeased with it at all. I was fine with it. Like Mike said, it was the best thing around at the time, because I had looked at Christianity since I was raised Lutheran, and I was looking into Scientology a bit, not long, but a little bit, till I found out what was going on there, and a little bit into SRF, Self-Realization Fellowship with Paramahansa Yogananda. That one was cool, but I kept falling asleep during meditation, so I don't know what I got too much out of that, but it wasn't dynamic enough. It was the old Eastern. He brought it over from the East and trying to merge it with the West, and it was a lot of meditation and a lot of passive sort of practices, and that didn't comply with my nature. So yeah, I was looking around the East-West bookstore there in Menlo Park, California, in the spiritual section, metaphysical section, and I happened across the book Tiger's Fang by Paul Twitchell. So I opened it up, and it's just something I never heard before. Some of the concepts, ideas, experiences, I just leafed through it quickly, but I could tell this was something different. And this is like all through my life, these little points of, now I can call it recognition. In the past I would have said knowingness, but knowingness is like a little bit on the mental side. So recognition is like a upgrade from knowingness in a way. We use that term a lot, recognition. Kind of like an aha moment, but still it's its own unique, just self-evidence of you could say of a truth for yourself. You know, it's just something that is unexplainable, but you know it's there, and you know you have to follow it. And again, like Mike said,
kind of like a deep awareness is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's something you know something's there. You know you have to follow it, or you know you have to go there. If you don't, you're missing something. So, and like Mike said, you know, you got to take the chance here. There's a fear factor a lot of times within the personal self when you come upon something unexplored or unknown. So that part, you take the choice, but